Welcome back, folks, to the Mel Wright Show. It's episode 288. Yes, it's me, Jonathan Denwood. Unfortunately, Robert can't be with us. He's getting his jab today, so he'll be free of this terrible virus. We've got a returning guest. We've got Ricardo Bueno.
Bueno.
Ricardo Bueno with us.
Awesome.
We had a great discussion a few weeks ago. Time is just disappearing, Ricardo, isn't it?
I have no sense of calendar or time. It's just yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's the only metric I use.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit like the weeks are just kind of they're all the same. But we invited you back because we really enjoyed our last discussion.
Awesome.
And we're going to be discussing a little bit about today's market, but mostly about CRMs. It's a passionate subject that a lot of people love to discuss. And Ricardo's got a load of knowledge in that particular subject. So let's start off, Ricardo, with this crazy market that we're facing. Got any thoughts? What's the kind of feedback that you're getting in general about the market?
I have agents that I've been in this industry for 10 years. So I've seen a couple of different markets. I got in just before the subprime market collapse. I have realtors who've been through several markets, and some are saying, this is the craziest one they've witnessed, because you have situations where a listing is getting, 18 offers over the weekend, or just taking no more showings. Like the property just went on the MLS today. By the time an agent's trying to schedule a showing for their client, like it's too late. We're not taking any more showings. So properties are flying off the shelf, so to speak. Agents who are representing buyers, buyers' offers aren't getting accepted. They're getting beat out. Agents who, you have other agents who, in a lot of our markets, low inventory. So the challenge becomes, well, how do I get more listings? I feel like that's not new. This whole, I need to get more listings. It's just now the pressure's on to try to kind of step it up and level up our marketing. I think that when the market is hot and when things are going well, it's easy to kind of go about your day and go about your business. And it's easy to pick listings, or like you have a tree, right? It's easy to get the listings or pick the fruit at the bottom because everything's going really well. But, there's a bunch of really ripe fruit at the top, and it's easy to ignore investing and continuing to feed and grow your business. I think that the messaging that you put out into the market, we need to put a little more thought and tact into it. So, for example, if I'm trying to advertise and generate new listings, I'm going to do an ad campaign saying something like, the market is super hot, find out what your home is worth, click the link below. That's not nearly as effective as saying, doing like a carousel ad and saying, where will we move with so little on the market to choose from? Where will we move next with so little on the market to choose from? How do we how do we sell safely during a global pandemic? What small home improvements can I make to get to increase the sale or the price on the sale of my home? And then cutting to the realtor, if you're like most people in 2021, these are some of the questions that have popped into your head. Listen to how I helped Ricardo and Ashley find their dream home while safely putting their current home in escrow. If you have any thoughts of moving in 2021, click the link below to find out what your home is worth and get my free report on 5 simple ways to increase the value of your house without breaking the bank. So which marketing message is going to resonate more? The one where you're saying the market is hot, get your free comparative market analysis, or the one where you're literally speaking to the pain points of today's consumer?
Well, it's the elephant in the room. Either you're going to confront it or just making out it doesn't exist ain't going to get you anywhere, is it?
Yeah. So the other challenge is we talk about everything we do, we do in sales, like in my role and really any sales role, you're always building a pipeline. You're always working on marketing, hopefully, and building a pipeline. And so when you have business and you get busy, it's easy to forget to do the stuff that is nurturing and building your pipeline. And so in real estate, we always say transactions or business lags 90 days. So 3 to 6 months. What you do now in your marketing is going to come to fruition in 3, 4, 6 months from now.
Yeah.
When you get busy and you have like 3 transactions that you're juggling, heck, in today's market, you have one listing that you have to present 18 offers on. Trust me, that's cumbersome. I get it. But what happens is when you get busy, you stop doing the daily activities that are meant to be planting seeds and nurturing so that you do have that steady pipeline, 90 days out. So when you forget to do those things, when you forget to do those things, it's going to be a rude awakening when we get 3 months out and you're like, whoops, what do I do now? And you're struggling to kind of play catch up. So the thing that I challenge my agents is ask yourself, what can I automate to buy back my time? And so that I am doing those activities. What can I delegate? So, if you're making over 100,000 a year, you should have a virtual assistant. There's a lot of misconceptions like, well, they can't do it as well as I can. That's a common one. But being able to outsource to a virtual assistant, or, can I eliminate this task? It's a repetitive, annoying, pestering little task. Can I eliminate it so it's not bogging me down?
I think that's fantastic insight, but I would say that you actually need to read up a bit, go to your podcast, read up some of your stuff, other people's, about what you got to know before you hire a virtual assistant. Because I've known a lot of very skillful agents, very successful agents, but they just blow through virtual assistants. Like they get, like, if they last more than a month, they're lucky.
You're lucky.
And a lot of it is you got to understand what you've got to provide to allow that virtual assistant to be successful, don't you?
Yep.
I feel. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I'm in that situation now, and it's just, what can you do to set that it's like hiring somebody. What can you do to set that person up for success? And part of that is documenting what it is you do in your day-to-day business. What's your playbook for doing this one task? And then can you successfully translate that to somebody else so that they can pick it up and take it from there?
I'm thinking that they're going to do it 100% as well as you isn't realistic, is it? I think you've got to have a threshold. There's a certain standard that you won't accept, and then there's a certain standard you would accept in maybe the first 3 months, and then maybe an improvement after they're bedded down. But if you think these people are going to be just as good as you,
where you're cloning yourself,
you're going to be disappointed, aren't you?
Yep, 100%.
All right, then. I just thought I think that was worth the asking you that question. So let's go on. We've got enough. Let's go on to CRMs, and I'm sure it's the question that you are asked the most, and it's definitely the question that Robert and myself, and definitely Robert, because he has written so much about CRMs, is that we're always asked, what is the best one, Ricardo? What is the best one? How do you respond to that? Because I know the way I respond to it, and I think it's the same.
It's
Robert
funny.
Responds to it.
It's funny because I secretly hate that question. I average, let's say, 30 to 50 one-on-one appointments with realtors every month. And that is single-handedly probably the one question I get on almost every appointment. Because I sit down and I audit, right? I do a business audit with my realtors. It's a coaching session. So the first question I ask, or I ask, how do you manage your database? Walk me through how you manage your database. Like, oh, well, I don't really have a database. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we're meeting. What's your favorite CRM? And the question, I'll tell you why I hate that question in a second, but the reason what I throw back at them, and it's the same question that I get when somebody asks, I want to run Facebook ads. I need leads, so I want to run Facebook ads. What I throw back at them is I say, well, what's your budget? What's your budget and how many people do you have in your database? Because if somebody says, oh, well, I don't really want to spend a lot of money, then I'm not going to show you the good CRMs. And if you tell me that I don't really have a database, I'm starting from zero, then that wipes the slate clean on a lot of the CRMs that I would probably recommend for a power user, right? For somebody that has, generates a few hundred leads a month, maybe they have a couple buyers agents that they want to, outsource leads to, et cetera, et cetera. So the reason I kind of hate this question, and it's kind of funny, what I tell people is pick your systems and stick to them. So I'm all for embracing new apps, new technology, new CRMs, new websites. However, you'll never become great at using the tools if you're constantly changing them. So you'll never become great, or you'll never become effective at wrangling your database if you're constantly changing CRMs because, oh, I heard that one's better. So what I would say and what I would argue is you got to commit to utilizing certain key programs. One of them is your CRM. The other one is maybe it's ads or whatever. And then just work on or invest time on improving your skills within those systems. So I don't think, for example, if you bought like KV Core and you were paying to generate leads through KV Core and you didn't close any, and so then you went to Commissions Inc. and you paid money to generate leads there and you didn't close any, and then you went over to Real Geeks and you paid money and you generated leads there and you didn't close any. The question shouldn't be, where can I find better leads? The question is I don't think you have a lead problem, you have a coaching problem. And we need to improve on building or developing your skill set to be able to engage and nurture those leads so that you can, improve your conversion.
Well, you've opened a whole can of worms there. So we've got about 5 minutes before we've got to go for our break. But the whole thing is, I think there's different CRMs for different type of agents at different times in their career, in different scenarios.
Yep.
Melwright has a basic CRM. I was in two minds for us to go down that road. We were initially just going to have an APR that integrated with some of the leading ones, which has its own hassles anyway. But in the end, we decided just to build, because fundamentally, I think it came from, I don't know who said it to me, it was another experienced trainer that said to me, the best CRM is the one that the agent uses.
Yep.
But I think when it comes to leads, let's start with leads. I think that is the problem, because what I know is an internet lead. I've really got to confirm with the agent that I'm talking to, do they understand what an internet lead is and isn't? And what I mean by that, Ricardo, is the internet lead in no shape or form can be compared to somebody in your local community recommending somebody that they have a close personal relationship to.
100%. 100%.
And a lot of agents, they actually, if they've never been involved in the purchase or the utilization of internet leads, they really struggle what they're actually buying into. First of all, would you agree with that? And secondly, got any insights about that?
Yeah. So the reason I always ask if we're doing a coaching session, I always ask, where's your database? How do you manage it? Because having a good sort of past client experience so that you're nurturing that lead or you're nurturing that relationship even after the transaction closes, that's going to be the highest and best use of your time. If you work on establishing a better post-close follow-up process and sort of enhancing that experience, you're going to get more repeat and referral business. And getting more repeat and referral business, that's just low-hanging fruit. Your chances of closing a referral from somebody, that's like taking a layup in basketball, to use an analogy, versus an online lead. That's like taking a 3-point shot with the game on the line and 2 defenders covering you. It requires a lot more practice, skill, and a whole lot of other things. When it comes to online leads, we call those people button pushers and form fillers. They're not just converting on your ad or on your website. They're converting on about a dozen other ads and websites. So the name of the game really is to be aggressive, number one, but to find kind of a balance between, am I being persistent or am I being pestering? Because you don't want to be pestering. Remember, they're converting on about a dozen other websites. And then the name of the game is long-term consistency, because a lot of these leads are early entry buyers, or they're just looky-loo sellers. So they're not going to be ready to convert when you want them to convert, and you want them to convert now because I paid for this lead and I want to sell them something now. But that's not where they are. They like I said, they're early entry. And so
it's not reality, is it? But so many agents, they don't understand the fundamental rules, do they?
Mm-hmm. No.
And I don't know, it's because they've been sold a bill, a load
Well,
of
sure.
or they don't want to hear about the reality. It may be a mixture of both, isn't it?
I think we get sold easy button. So just buy this thing and you'll close, 10 million in production in the first 60 days. I think that's, on the one hand, the bill of goods that were sold. But yeah, it's going to take 3 to 18 months. Consumer direct leads always take 3 to 18 months. And then depending on the lead source, Facebook ads, I consider interruption marketing. So those people are usually very early entry. Google ads, they're a little more problem aware. They're looking for something very specific. That's the person Googling, 2-bed, 3-bed, 2-story house in Costa Mesa with 1 bed, 1 bath on the first floor. That person is looking for something very specific, or a specific type of inventory. That person's not on Facebook clicking on an ad trying to buy a house. So you're going to convert your Google leads faster than you will your Facebook leads. But it's a game. It's a grind. Somebody, I forget where I heard it, and this is a simplified version of it, or an overly simplified version of it. But real estate is simple. It's meet people, or talk to people, nurture the relationship, and then close the sale. Meet people, nurture the relationship, close the sale. We often skip number 2. We meet people or we talk to people and we want to close the sale. We forget to invest time in nurturing the relationship, and that's where the CRM comes in.
Yeah, we're going to go for a break. We'll be back in a few moments, folks.
Awesome.
We're coming back. I'm all with my own listeners. He's Robert has left me now. He's gone to have his vaccination, and he predicted that he would feel pretty rough after it, and he does. So but at least he's been vaccinated. He won't go down with this terrible COVID, and I have as well. So I'm joyous as well. The prospect of going down with that wasn't a fantastic prospect.
No,
got a returning guest. We've got Ricardo with us. Got a great podcast, Ricardo. We have all the links in the show notes, but you want to listen to his you've got one of the better podcasts. Obviously, you're not as good as Spellright, but you do a really excellent job.
Where are you at? You're at 200 episodes?
We're up to 288.
That's awesome. I forget.
I wouldn't listen to the first 50 though. A bit rough to say the least.
That's how I feel right now.
Yeah, no, you're doing a good job. Now, so before we went for a break, we were discussing what is a lead, and a lot of agents don't understand the reality of internet leads, and that's partly due to people like me at Melwright, but I think I've done my best when I have my consultation with possible clients not to overinflate what Melwright can do for them. So I think it's partly those that are selling similar products to Melwright, and also lack of knowledge from the agents as well. But let's get back to, I definitely think there's different CRM systems. You got systems like LionDesk that try and be everything to everybody. Great value, but I think maybe could be criticised because of a lack of, they're trying to do almost everything.
So
then you got, go
ahead.
And then you got some very established ones that probably their interfaces aren't the easiest to use. Then you've got systems like Follow Up Boss, which are superb, I would say, in UX design and in general functionality and power. Follow Up Boss is one, and Boomtown, maybe Boomtown Follow Up Boss are some of the most powerful, but not really aimed at the single agent in my mind, or the agent couple, or agent that might have a couple buyer agents. To me, you need that's a CRM that's really either with a dedicated agent that is providing leads to like 10, 15 agents, or brokerage level almost tool, where Melwright, we're aimed at the real geek bold lead. They are our two main competitor, where we're aimed at the single agent, at the power couple, or agent that might have a buyer, junior agent working for them. Would you agree that you really got to split the market up dependent on where the agent is? Do you agree how I'm breaking it up, or do you think I'm off?
And so that's the thing, though. I always say, I'm a big fan of kind of getting everything that you can out of what you've already got. And so what I mean by that is utilize the tools that are already being presented to you as either a member benefit through the MLS, or that are being offered to you for free from your brokerage. So here in Southern,
we're gonna strongly disagree here.
So I always say, for my agent who's just starting out, doesn't have a big marketing budget, is spending money on a bunch of different tools, I say, you know what, just use LionDesk because it's a member benefit through the MLS. If you're an agent that has a budget, if you work at an indie brokerage, you have a team, and so it's important to you to round robin leads between you and your team, I always say, go to Follow Up Boss, make the investment, use Follow Up Boss because it's worth the investment. For me, I tell people to stop shopping based on features, because you're always going to find a CRM that has better features than the last one. So all I really care about is, can I automate certain sequences, certain drip sequences? So when a new lead comes in, irrespective of lead source, can I start that lead on a drip campaign? And can I have sort of an established set of tasks so that I know that lead is getting nurtured for the long term, and that I know that I'm doing my job of following up with those leads. And most CRMs, they're going to allow you to do that one way or another. They just use different language to basically say the same things. And then broadcast emails. So it's having your right now we spend a lot of time sitting down with our agents to craft stories or case studies off of the listings that they're closing. And we use those to craft very specific sort of emails that we send to different segments of your database. So most CRMs will allow you to create filtered views for different segments of that database so that you can send, personalized marketing messages to them. So really the best practice is, I don't think it's so much a function of features, but, are you tagging your leads accordingly? And then are you creating filtered views and segments, or are you sending the same message to everyone? If you're sending the same message to everyone, that's where you're going to get some unsubscribes. If I'm someone in your database and someone in your list, I'm looking for a starter townhouse or condo, and you're sending me, $3 million listings. Yeah, that's nice eye candy, but that doesn't relate to me. And the experience that you're crafting is one that says this agent doesn't care about me, or doesn't care to know that, I don't care about that listing. So I'm going to go with, I'm going to go chase that listing down, or the property search down somewhere else. So I think it's organize your database, segment your database, do a good job of constantly updating your database, and then, take stock of your lead sources and set up your automations or your drip campaigns to those different lead sources.
I would say that, Mel, right? I think when it comes to that, you're best to be looking at utilizing maybe the CRM that your agent, your brokerage provides, because KV Core has been very aggressive with the packaging, the discounting, and the outreach they've been doing to brokerages, national chains and independents, haven't they? They've been quite aggressive, and it's a great system. But I think also you've got to understand that obviously you are in partnership with your broker. It's always been up and down relationship. I'm not here to bash brokerages, unlike Grant Wise was notorious. He still is, with the way he attacked brokerages. I've never wanted to go down that road. But on the other hand, I think you've got to face the realities of the relationship, that if you're relying totally on a broker tool, in your agreement, because they're providing that tool, they have total access to your database. So if you leave that brokerage, they've got the total right to have access to market to that database, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
How do you, what's your thoughts about what I've just said there?
So we always, if you're using a CRM that's powered by your brokerage, we always recommend having a backup of that database. So if you're running ads, for example, Facebook ads, we use Zapier to get the leads out of Facebook into your CRM, but then we always create a Google spreadsheet. So we add that lead to a new row in your spreadsheet, so that you always have a living, breathing document of all of the leads that you've generated from all of your lead sources. Because I've consulted for brokerages. We rolled out Boomtown for all of our agents at one of our brokerages. So 2,000 Boomtown websites across 26 offices in 22 states. And yeah, it's protocol. The second you say, I'm having thoughts of leaving, you shut down the account and you restrict access so that you don't have access to those leads. And those leads get reassigned either to another agent, or they get, assigned to the office and redistributed. So you're playing in somebody else's sandbox, and that's generally speaking, not good. I would always you should always own your website. You should always own your content. You should always own your data. And I mean, in this
I
case,
think we've got to
CRM
be
applies.
realistic here. I also feel that you're right. You were right to point out we've got to be realistic. I totally agree with the things I would do because I got Mel right, but I think I still have rash. I wouldn't just say that because people would just think I'm a bullshitter. I do honestly believe that anyway. But on the other hand, if you're really starting out and you've got no money, and you're struggling to put food on the table, just go with like what you say. Just go with the brokerage tools that you're probably paying for anyway in your brokerage fees. But on the other hand, when you get a bit more in a better situation financially, I think depending on the agent tools probably isn't the best way to go, because it's a bit like the website, isn't it? You know, almost every brokerage provides some form of agent, a one page or a very generic agent website. And I think in 2021, that's kind of semi bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very much so.
I wondered if are you okay in staying with us for another 10 minutes for bonus content?
Yep.
Because I want to talk about the importance of having your own website and get your views on that. So the 30 minutes has just flown actually. I thought I've tried not to be too wandering in my questions, listeners and viewers. But we're going to wrap up the podcast part of the show and we're going to go on to bonus content, which you'll be able to view on the mel-wright.com YouTube channel, and also on the Mel-Wright website with a full transcription of the interview and all the links. So, Ricardo, what's the best way of people to find out more about you, what you're up to, and your latest opinions and views about real estate?
and rantings. The easiest place to do that is ricardobueno.com. I have a weekly newsletter. I share, once a week tutorials, videos, webinars, things of that sort. And then I have a weekly podcast. I interview other technology providers in our industry, but also agents, top producing agents in our market, to find out what it is, what's their magic or what's their secret sauce. What is it that they're doing in their market that's working for them right now? But yeah, you guys can find that more over at ricardobueno.com.
I would highly recommend it. I think it's one of the, obviously not as good as Mel-Wright, but almost. But I'm biased, listeners and viewers.
One can dream.
Yes. God. We'll be back. Hopefully Robert will be back next week. We've got another fantastic guest booked. And we'll have another great discussion. But remember, go over to the YouTube channel and watch the bonus content. We're going to be talking about websites. We will be back next week. See you soon, folks. Bye. So on to websites. So now, obviously, because of Zillow, Realtor.com, the old days of just having an IDX feed on your local, on your website, and
long gone.
those days are over. But on the other hand, those that say, "Oh, I don't need a website," what's the point? You've got Zillow now. I just think they've totally lost the plot almost. What do you think about what I've just said?
It's a tough one. My answers changed over the years. Because again, I used to sell custom website designs. So, at $3,000 a pop and whatnot. So I think that as an in our business, we are entrepreneurs. I think that you should, as an agent, work on building your personal brand. And you can do that alongside the brokerage brand, but you're going to be in a more powerful position 3, 5, 10 months, 10 years from now if you focus on building your personal brand. So I think you should have a website. I think you should have a website because that's where your content should sit. I think that's where you can focus on building that personal brand. Um, do you need to drop $3,000 on a website? Probably not. You can get by with with a somewhat of a templated solution. I think the important part is don't invest in a really expensive website if you don't have the content or you're not going to produce the content to really give that website some breadth.
And
If
I
that
would
makes sense.
definitely, even if you were dealing with a newer agent that had the money to, I would strongly advise them not to spend that money, even
Yep.
if they had it, because it takes you time to realize what your brand is, doesn't
Correct.
it?
Correct. So very much so.
You know, who, because I think also, I don't know if you agree with this, a lot of agents, they have a totally understandable fear and want to market to everybody in their local market, and it's totally understandable, but it's totally self-defeating also. You really need to know who you're best at serving and market to those. What's your thoughts about that?
So repeat that again.
Well, for understandable reasons, especially new agents, they want to market to everybody in their
Oh yeah,
local,
yeah, 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 yeah. No,
and it, but they shouldn't be, should they?
no, no, no. You should be creating content for the type of audience you want to attract. So I have a mortgage broker who has literally created 10,000 words of worth of content, more really, but a phenomenal, a large amount of content on helping people buy a house that have a student loan debt with repayment plans. That's a very niche thing. To be able to know how to put a deal together when you have student loan debt with repayment plans, like you have to really understand underwriting guidelines to be able to help somebody finance a home. There's a lot of buyers, I'm sure, that thinking we have all of this debt, well, we can't afford a house, and that's just not true if you know the guidelines and how to structure that deal properly. So that's his particular specialty. So his funnel, when people come to the website and read articles on um, how to, on specific financing programs, and then they go down the rabbit hole, they get retargeted with ads to either start a loan application or to continue or finish a loan application. Like maybe they started a loan application on the website and they didn't convert, they didn't finish the application. So what they get is a retargeting ad that says, Ricardo and Ashley thought they couldn't afford a house, but that just isn't true. Listen to how we help them structure their deals so that they can afford a home, even though they carried X amount in student loan debt. That's a very sort of specific niche that he's created for himself. So I have other lenders who say, well, I want to do that too. Just because it works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Don't say like, oh, I want to do that too because he's having a tremendous amount of success. Like, do you know about how to structure those types of deals together? That's a very niche thing. It's a very specialized thing. I think you need to identify what type of client am I comfortable working with. Who do I resonate the most? And literally, you just create content that kind of attracts that specific audience. A lot of agents think they want to do luxury real estate. That comes with its own sort of lifestyle and challenges, etc. You have to live and breathe that lifestyle if you want to sell to that particular type of client. It's just, I don't know. Stop trying to be everything to everyone, and literally niche down and focus on who you want to serve and put yourself in that customer's shoes, write those or answer those questions, create those videos that's going to resonate with them.
And I think the other thing, especially when it comes to website, is to understand what you're buying into. Part of the MailRite system is that we will provide IDX-fed websites based on WordPress, but we use IDX Broker and we get the agent to pay directly to IDX Broker.
Mm-hmm.
And then our guarantee is that if they ever wanted to stop using MailRite, is that free of charge, we will export that WordPress website to whatever host they want to utilize. And
Awesome.
it's a written guarantee. And we're one of the few that are providing a lead generative system that gives that guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you've got to understand with some of the other providers, it's not, and real geeks, and I'm not having a go at them, it's just reality, is that if you're going to spend a lot of time on unique content and you stop paying, you probably have a better awareness of this. How easy is it to export that data out of Real Geeks and get it into another?
Some people make it more difficult than others. I don't know. I usually ask, is it easy to export the data? Like, who controls the content? If you're on WordPress, it's pretty easy to export and migrate that content, but yeah, it's always a pain in the butt. They're gonna want to get you not to cancel your account, and I don't know. I just generally always feel that way about different providers.
So what would when it comes to actually a website and spending time, even though it has its own problems around security and keeping everything up to date and that, do you still lean to WordPress as a solution?
Yeah, very much so. But understandably, some people, it's where for some people, ease of use is relative. So for some people, it's really easy to log into the WordPress dashboard, navigate the backend, and it's not much of a headache. For other people, it's like reading hieroglyphics. So I would say, sign up for a 30-day trial of whatever tool that is. Have a look or have a go around, see how easy or not easy it is to navigate, and make your decision that way. Me, I'm a WordPress fanboy. Everything I've ever done is on WordPress, and everything I ever want to build is on WordPress. But because I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm logging into, and I know what I'm kind of getting into. I will say that it's worth it to invest in a hosting provider. So like, don't cheap out on certain things. So don't cheap out on hosting. Don't go with the cheapest plan because, I don't want to spend money. No, this is your business. You do want to spend money. You do want to spend that just in case money because, your site will inevitably get hacked sooner or later. And you want to make sure you're on a good host so that, you're mitigating against that sort of thing.
Just to wrap up, what is your relationship in West, and how long have you been in? I don't know if you're directly employed by West or it's a consultancy basis.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So
how long have you been working with West, and what do you actually do, and how's it worked out so far for you?
We're a training and technology company. I serve the Orange County market, and basically it's pretty awesome. I've been there for almost 3 years now. And I basically coach and consult with realtors in my market. So we do stuff like help them implement their CRMs, help them implement marketing strategies, Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, you name it. And we help them, develop content strategies. So it's fun. I get to geek out on all of the stuff that I kind of enjoy toying around with. And I get to teach and train. So it's something that I've always enjoyed doing in this industry.
So how does West make its money, if you don't mind me asking?
We are complicated. We go out and we consult for our sister company, and that's WFG Title.
All right, so it's linked to a title.
Yeah.
Right, I understand. Yeah. Yeah, but no, it's I've been impressed with some of some of the experts you got in the West family, and I think you're doing a great job.
Awesome.
So I think we're going to wrap up this. I've been missing Robert though. I've been missing. Doing it all yourself is hard work. But Ricardo, you have to come back at the end of the year and have you back on the show. It's been a great interview. We're going to wrap it up now, folks, and we'll see you next week with Robert, where we have another great guest and another great interview. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
Thanks, guys.